The relentless African sun beat down on the vast, unforgiving savanna, turning the ochre earth into a cracked mosaic. Across this harsh landscape, a tiny shadow moved with an excruciating slowness that defied belief. It was a panther cub, no more than a few months old, its sleek black fur dulled by dust and exhaustion. One leg dragged uselessly behind it, a twisted, unnatural angle suggesting the bone was shattered. Another foreleg was equally compromised, forcing the cub to propel itself forward in a series of agonizing, lurching movements. Each inch of progress was a testament to an unimaginable will, a silent scream of defiance against the inevitable. Its breath came in ragged gasps. Its eyes, once bright and predatory, now held only a glazed film of pain and desperate resolve. It was a sight that would break even the strongest heart, a fragile life clinging to existence against a backdrop of boundless indifference. Miles away, at a small, meticulously maintained conservation outpost nestled on the edge of a game reserve, Dr. Aris Thorne adjusted his spectacles and peered intently at a microscope slide. His workspace, a blend of high-tech veterinary equipment and rustic African artifacts, reflected his life's singular purpose. Dr. Thorne was not just any veterinarian. He was a renowned American specialist in big cats, a man whose dedication bordered on obsession. His face, etched with lines of past grief and current determination, told a story of a personal tragedy that had steered him toward this remote corner of Africa. The loss of his own beloved animal companion years ago had forged an unbreakable bond between him and the vulnerable creatures of the wild. He believed every life, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, deserved a fight for survival, a chance at dignity. The calm of the morning, however, was about to shatter. A frantic radio crackle pierced the air, pulling Aris away from his research. It was Ranger Jomo, his voice strained with urgency. "Dr. Thorne, we have a situation. A cub. A panther cub." The words were punctuated by static, but the gravity of the message was clear. "Injured badly. Local trackers found it. Doesn't look good, sir. Survival seems impossible." Aris felt a cold knot tighten in his stomach. He'd seen impossible before, far too many times. He knew the odds these creatures faced daily, and an injured cub, alone in the wild, rarely stood a chance. "Details, Jomo. What's the extent?" he asked, his voice calm despite the rising tide of alarm. "Multiple injuries, doctor. Both front legs, completely useless. It's been dragging itself, the trackers say, for a long distance. 12 miles, they estimate. Incredible, but it's fading fast." 12 miles. The number hung in the air, a staggering testament to the cub's tenacity. Aris felt a surge of adrenaline, mixed with a familiar pang of despair. How could something so small endure so much? His mind raced, calculating survival chances, equipment needed, personnel available. This wasn't merely a rescue, it was a race against time, against nature's brutal efficiency and the relentless march of predators. "Prepare the rapid response vehicle, Jomo," Aris commanded, already moving with purpose. He grabbed his emergency kit, his mind already formulating a plan, however slim the chances. "Gather the team. We move now. Tell them to bring everything. We're going in." There was no hesitation, no question of feasibility. A life was at stake, a tiny, struggling spark against an overwhelming darkness. And as long as that spark flickered, Aris Thorne would fight to keep it alive. This was his calling, his penance, his unwavering purpose. Please subscribe to our channel for more inspiring and heartwarming stories of courage and rescue in the wild. The urgent call shattered the savanna's fragile peace, propelling Dr. Aris Thorne and his dedicated team into a desperate race against time. Locating a severely injured panther cub in the vast, unforgiving African wilderness was a challenge of Herculean proportions, especially with the sun already dipping towards the horizon, casting long, deceptive shadows across the landscape. The initial report was vague: a cub, barely moving, somewhere near the dried-up riverbed, but the riverbed itself stretched for miles, a serpentine scar across the earth. The terrain was their first formidable adversary. Thorny acacia bushes, sharp as daggers, tore at their clothing and vehicles. Deep, sandy ruts, carved by ancient rains, threatened to swallow their Land Rover whole. Every bump sent a jarring shockwave through the vehicle, a constant reminder of the cub's probable agony. And then there were the silent, unseen threats, the lurking shadows of hyenas, the territorial roars of lions echoing in the distance, every predator a potential grim reaper for an incapacitated infant. The cub's trail, a faint whisper of disturbed dust and a few tragic smears, suggested an impossible journey. 12 miles. How could such a small, vulnerable creature, with apparently shattered legs, have dragged itself such an unthinkable distance? It defied every instinct of logic and survival, painting a picture of determination so fierce it bordered on the supernatural. The harsh environment itself mounted an almost insurmountable obstacle. Dehydration was a silent killer, and the cub had been exposed for hours under the relentless African sun. The heat alone could have claimed it, let alone the internal trauma from its injuries. Other predators, ever opportunistic, would be drawn to weakness like vultures to carrion. The sheer distance the cub had covered on its own, its little body pushing beyond all physical limits, made locating it feel like searching for a single grain of sand on a sprawling beach. Doubt began to creep into the minds of some team members. "It's a lost cause, Aris," whispered one of the veteran rangers, his voice heavy with resignation. No cub could survive that journey, not with those kind of injuries. Yet Aris, his jaw set with grim resolve, refused to entertain such thoughts. He had seen too much resilience in the wild to give up now. To narrow down the search area, the team deployed their advanced tracking drones, sleek mechanical eyes soaring high above the savanna. The drones, equipped with thermal sensors, scanned the vast expanse, hoping to pick up a heat signature that didn't belong. Simultaneously, they employed their deep knowledge of the local ecosystem, consulting with the indigenous trackers who knew every rock, every hidden nook, every subtle shift in the wind. These experienced locals, with their ancestral wisdom, pointed them towards an ancient game trail, rarely used but known to offer some respite from the midday sun. Their combined efforts began to shrink the immense search grid, but each passing minute felt like an hour, each hour a day. The skepticism from some team members, though unspoken, was palpable. How could they possibly find it alive? The odds were stacked against them, a towering mountain of despair. But etched into Aris Thorne's very soul was an unyielding belief in the extraordinary will to live, a belief that had been forged in the fires of his own past and now fueled his desperate quest to find this tiny, suffering cub. The drone's thermal camera picked up a faint, flickering heat signature, almost lost against the sun-baked earth. It was small, too small to be an adult, and moving with an agonizing slowness that sent a shiver down Dr. Thorne's spine. "There, 70 meters to your 6 o'clock, near that cluster of acacia trees," he barked into his comms, his voice tight with a mixture of dread and surging hope. The ground team, already weary from hours of relentless tracking, galvanized. As they approached, the sight that greeted them was far more harrowing than any satellite image could convey. The cub, no bigger than a domestic cat, was indeed a panther, its sleek ebony fur matted with dust and dried blood. Its hind legs were unmistakably twisted at grotesque angles, shattered and useless. Yet it wasn't lying still, resigned to its fate. With an almost inconceivable force of will, it was dragging its broken body forward, pulling itself inch by painful inch across the unforgiving terrain, using its powerful front paws. Its eyes, though clouded with pain, held an unnerving intensity, fixed on some distant, unseen goal. It ignored the approaching human figures, seemingly oblivious to anything but its singular, desperate mission. "Unbelievable," whispered one of the rangers, his usual stoicism replaced by open awe. Dr. Thorne felt a jolt, a profound sense of bewilderment. Why wasn't it seeking shelter? Why wasn't it crying out? It was moving with a purpose that transcended mere survival instincts. This wasn't just an animal trying to escape. It was an animal going somewhere. The cub's direction was unwavering, leading them towards a dense thicket of thorny bushes, a thorny labyrinth that seemed to offer more challenges than refuge. The mystery deepened. For 12 miles, this tiny creature had endured unimaginable agony, not to find safety, but to reach this seemingly unremarkable patch of undergrowth. As they cautiously followed, keeping a respectful distance, the cub continued its slow, agonizing crawl, its tiny body trembling with effort. Each drag forward was a testament to a resolve that defied logic, a will so potent it seemed to manifest physically, propelling the broken form. Dr. Thorne found himself holding his breath, mesmerized by the sheer, unbridled determination emanating from the small, suffering form. What could possibly be so important, so vital, that it would compel such a journey of torment? The cub pushed through the outer layer of the thicket, disappearing momentarily before its faint, struggling movements could be seen deep within the thorny embrace. It wasn't seeking cover, it was seeking entry. The motivation was slowly beginning to clarify, an unsettling thought forming in Dr. Thorne's mind, a realization that hinted at something deeper than individual survival. This wasn't about self-preservation in the traditional sense. It was about something, or someone, else. The emotional stakes soared. Dr. Thorne felt an inexplicable, almost visceral connection to the cub's sheer, unyielding will to live, to achieve its purpose. The tiny panther's struggle mirrored dormant echoes within him, memories of his own past battles, the raw, unyielding fight against despair when all seemed lost. He remembered the feeling of pushing past physical limits, driven by an overriding, emotional imperative. This cub carried a burden, a secret, that was far heavier than its own broken bones. It was leading them, not just to a location, but to an understanding, a profound truth hidden within the heart of the savanna. What awaited them inside that impenetrable thicket would surely unravel the enigma of this incredible journey. The air grew thick with anticipation as the team watched, transfixed, as the cub finally reached its destination. With a final agonizing lunge, it burrowed deeper into the dense thicket, pushing aside thorny branches that tore at its already shredded fur. Dr. Thorne and the rangers moved in slowly, parting the foliage with careful hands, their breaths held captive in their chests. What they saw nestled within the heart of that thorny refuge was not a cache of food, not a hidden water source, but something far more profound, something that instantly explained the cub's impossible journey. Curled tightly amongst the roots and shadows, almost invisible against the dark earth, lay another tiny panther cub, This second cub was significantly smaller, even more vulnerable, a mere shadow of its brave sibling. Its fur was dull and matted, its ribs clearly visible beneath its thin skin, and its breathing was shallow, almost imperceptible. It lay utterly still, a fragile bundle of life clinging precariously to existence, abandoned by its mother or separated from the pride, left to face the harsh savanna alone. The injured cub, the one they had tracked for 12 harrowing miles, had painstakingly dragged itself all that way, not for its own survival, but for this helpless creature. Its destination wasn't a place of safety for itself, but a desperate, final attempt to reach and perhaps shield its littler, weaker sibling. The realization hit Dr. Thorne with the force of a physical blow. The injured cub, with its shattered legs and tormenting pain, had performed an act of unimaginable selflessness. It had defied every instinct for self-preservation, every logical boundary of endurance, driven by an instinct far more powerful, sibling love, a primal urge to protect its kin. It hadn't been trying to escape a predator or find solace. It had been leading them to this tiny, abandoned life, perhaps hoping that its very presence, its sacrifice, would somehow draw help to the one it couldn't save on its own. The cub's eyes, dull with pain just moments before, now held a faint glimmer as it nudged its head weakly against its smaller sibling, a silent, profound gesture of comfort and connection. An overwhelming wave of emotion washed over Dr. Thorne. He had witnessed countless acts of bravery and desperation in the wild, but this was different. This was a testament to a depth of familial bond that transcended species, a raw, powerful demonstration of love and unwavering devotion. The cub's sacrifice was not merely physical, it was an emotional one, a testament to its profound sense of responsibility. His own past, the shadows of his personal tragedy involving an animal he couldn't save, resurfaced momentarily, but this time it fueled a renewed sense of purpose. This wasn't a lost cause. This was a call to action, an affirmation of everything he had dedicated his life to. The immense pressure to save both cubs descended upon him like the African sun. One was critically injured, having endured an unimaginable ordeal. The other was frail, malnourished, and teetering on the brink. Failure was not an option. The sheer audacity of the injured cub's journey had placed an unspoken mandate upon them, a solemn duty to honor its incredible selflessness. Dr. Thorne knelt beside the two precious lives, his medical bag already open, his hands moving with a newfound urgency and precision. He had to save them, not just for their own sakes, but as a testament to the indomitable spirit of the wild and to the extraordinary, heartbreaking courage of one small panther. The quiet determination that had propelled the cub for 12 agonizing miles now permeated the entire team, filling them with a shared, unwavering resolve. The revelation, when it finally came, was breathtaking in its simplicity and devastating in its impact. The cub, its journey ended, lay panting amidst a small clearing within the thorny fortress, and there, nestled beside it, was another, much smaller cub, a tiny frail ball of fur, barely responsive, its ribs starkly visible beneath its thin coat. This was the reason. This was the 12-mile testament to unbreakable sibling love. The older cub, whose legs were shattered, had not been seeking safety for itself, but rather desperately trying to lead them to its younger, weaker sibling, abandoned or separated from their mother, teetering on the brink of starvation. It had crawled through unimaginable agony to protect, to comfort, to simply be with its only family. Dr. Thorne felt a wave of profound sorrow and desperate admiration wash over him. The sheer selflessness of the act was almost too much to bear. This little creature, facing its own imminent death, had thought only of another. His purpose solidified, becoming razor sharp. There was no longer any question of if, only how. Both cubs had to be saved. The weight of this immense responsibility settled on his shoulders, but it was a weight he embraced completely. Without hesitation, Dr. Thorne gave the immediate instructions. "Sedation kit, quickly. We need to stabilize the older one first. Be gentle, exceptionally gentle." The team sprang into action, their movements precise and practiced, but imbued with a new sense of urgency and respect for the tiny, heroic patient. The older cub, exhausted beyond measure, barely flinched as the sedative was administered, its eyes closing slowly, finally at rest. The younger cub, so small and fragile, was carefully scooped up. Its breathing was shallow, its movements minimal, clearly suffering from severe malnutrition and dehydration. Extracting them from the dense thicket required meticulous effort, untangling thorns from fur, ensuring no further injury. Once free, they were gently placed into a specialized transport carrier designed to minimize stress and movement for injured animals. The journey back to the outpost, usually a routine trip, now felt fraught with an almost palpable tension. The sun beat down mercilessly, raising dust devils that swirled across the savanna, threatening to engulf their vehicle in a blinding, choking haze. "Dust storm brewing," one of the rangers called out, his voice tight. "Might get nasty." Dr. Thorne gripped the sides of the carrier, his gaze constantly shifting between the two small forms within. They had come this far. They couldn't fail now. He felt the vehicle lurch as the driver navigated treacherous terrain, trying to outrun the advancing wall of dust. The wind howled, rattling the windows, and loose branches whipped against the sides of the truck. Every bump, every sudden jolt, sent a pang of anxiety through him. Beyond the immediate threat of the storm, the vast African wilderness held other dangers: larger predators, territorial clashes, unexpected obstacles. But the team pressed on, their focus singular, their determination mirroring the cub's own heroic tenacity. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they arrived at the makeshift clinic within the conservation outpost. The air conditioning within the sterile environment was a welcome relief from the oppressive heat and dust outside. Dr. Thorne immediately began the initial assessment. The older cub's injuries were indeed severe. Multiple complex fractures in both hind legs, compounded by muscle damage and severe dehydration. It was a miracle it had survived, let alone traveled such a distance. The younger cub, though miraculously free of visible injuries, was alarmingly weak. Its body temperature was low, and its tiny heart beat feebly. Its eyes were dull, unfocused, and it showed little reaction to gentle prodding. "Severely malnourished, dehydrated," Dr. Thorne murmured, his voice grim but resolute. "We'll need to start IV fluids, a gentle rehydration protocol, and strict monitoring. For the older one, X-rays are the priority. We need to assess the full extent of the bone damage before we can plan any surgical intervention." The road ahead would be long and arduous, but looking at the two helpless creatures, Dr. Thorne knew they would fight for every breath, for every chance at life. The cub's incredible sacrifice demanded nothing less. The cub finally reached its destination, not a secluded resting spot, but a hidden crevice beneath the roots of an ancient baobab tree, shrouded by the very thicket it had struggled so valiantly to penetrate. Inside, nestled amongst dry leaves and soft earth, lay a second, even smaller cub, barely more than a few weeks old, frail and whimpering softly. It was severely undersized, its fur matted, its eyes still partially closed, an image of absolute vulnerability. The older cub, its arduous journey concluded, nudged its sibling gently with its blood-stained nose, a soft, purring rumble emanating from its battered chest, a sound of profound reassurance despite its own unimaginable suffering. Dr. Thorne felt a wave of profound emotion wash over him, a mixture of awe and heartbreaking sorrow. The cub, against every conceivable biological imperative for self-preservation, had dragged itself 12 miles across the treacherous savanna, not for its own survival, but to protect its tiny, helpless sibling. It had come to what must have been its last known safe haven, bringing the younger one to it, or perhaps simply to be with it in its final moments of exhaustion and pain. This wasn't just resilience. It was an act of selfless, instinctual love that defied all rational explanation. The broken legs, the searing pain, the immense distances, all endured for another. His mind raced, a renewed sense of urgent purpose overriding his initial shock. The cub's sacrifice, its unwavering determination, galvanized him. This wasn't merely a rescue operation anymore. It was a sacred trust. He felt the immense pressure building, a silent, internal vow to save both these fragile lives. The younger cub's desperate squeaks were a stark reminder of the immediacy of the situation. It was not just one life hanging in the balance, but two, intrinsically linked by an unimaginable bond of sibling devotion. The older cub, now resting its head beside its sibling, seemed to draw comfort from its presence, even as its own body trembled with exhaustion. The team moved quickly, their awe giving way to professional precision. Dr. Thorne administered a mild sedative to the older cub, his hands gentle, his eyes filled with a deep respect for the creature's spirit. Carefully, they extracted both cubs from the den. The younger one, clearly malnourished and dehydrated, was tenderly wrapped in a thermal blanket, its tiny frame almost weightless. The initial assessment confirmed Dr. Thorne's fears. The older cub suffered from multiple, complex fractures in both hind legs and severe soft tissue damage consistent with its arduous crawl. Its exhaustion was profound, its body teetering on the brink of collapse. The journey back to the outpost was fraught with a new kind of urgency. The setting sun cast long, ominous shadows, and the air crackled with the threat of a sudden dust storm. The team pressed on, their vehicle bumping over the uneven terrain, each jolt a fresh agony for the injured cub. Dr. Thorne held the older cub, his gaze alternating between the struggling animal in his arms and the tiny bundle that was its sibling. He could feel the cub's shallow, ragged breaths against his arm, a testament to its fading strength. The wind began to whip up, carrying fine grit that stung their eyes, further obscuring the already fading light. They encountered a suspicious pair of hyenas briefly, their eyes glinting in the encroaching gloom, but the quick action of the rangers, flashing lights and loud horns, deterred them. Back at the clinic, under the harsh glow of examination lights, the full extent of the older cub's injuries became brutally clear. X-rays revealed splintered bones, a testament to the sheer physical trauma it had endured. The younger cub, while frail, appeared to have no immediate physical injuries, but its severe malnutrition would be a critical challenge. Dr. Thorne and his team worked through the night, their movements precise, their determination fueled by the incredible story of survival and love that had brought these two tiny creatures to them. This was the beginning of an incredibly long and uncertain road to recovery, but in their eyes, failure was not an option. Weeks bled into months, and relentless cycle of surgeries, physiotherapy, and meticulous nursing. Dr. Thorne had practically made the clinic his second home, often catching only a few hours of sleep slumped in an armchair beside Brave's enclosure. The older cub's recovery was a torturously slow process, each small victory hard-won. There were days of despair when infection threatened, or when Brave seemed to lose its fighting spirit, its eyes dull with pain. But then hope, ever the smaller, brighter shadow, would nuzzle against its brother, its purrs a gentle balm, and a flicker of life would return to Brave's gaze. It was a Tuesday, a day like any other, when the miracle happened. The previous week had seen Brave finally able to bear some weight on its mending legs, supported by a specialized harness. But today, after shedding the harness during a supervised exercise session, something shifted. Brave, with Hope watching intently from just outside the enclosure mesh, pushed itself up. Its limbs trembled violently, a raw, visible effort rippling through its small body. Dr. Thorne held his breath, every muscle in his own body tensing in anticipation, a silent prayer forming on his lips. Then, slowly, painfully, one paw moved forward, then another. It was less a walk and more a staggering shuffle, but it was movement, unassisted movement. Brave was taking its first tentative steps, a deeply emotional moment that brought tears to the eyes of every team member present. Hope, sensing the triumph, let out a series of excited chuffs, rubbing its head against the mesh, almost as if urging its brother on. It was a climax of recovery, a testament to an indomitable will that had defied injury and despair. Yet, even in the midst of this profound victory, a new and unsettling challenge emerged. The question loomed large, heavy with an uncertain future. Could Brave and Hope ever truly be released back into the wild? Their survival depended not just on healed bones, but on the ability to hunt, to defend themselves, to navigate the unforgiving savanna without human intervention. Brave, despite its remarkable progress, still carried the scars of its ordeal, a slight stiffness in its gait, a lingering vulnerability. Hope, though developing into a healthy, energetic young panther, had never known a life outside captivity. Their initial bond, a story of incredible sibling love, had ironically also made them reliant on each other and on human care. The team debated endlessly, their opinions divided between the desire for freedom and the stark realities of survival. Sending them back too soon would be a death sentence. Keeping them forever felt like a betrayal of their wild nature. It was during a routine genetic sampling of Brave, part of a larger study on local panther populations, that Dr. Thorne stumbled upon an unexpected and profound discovery. The results, initially confusing, were double-checked, then triple-checked. Brave carried a rare genetic marker, a distinct lineage previously thought to be extinct in this region. This wasn't just any panther. This cub was a vital link to a unique genetic history, a potential lifeline for the species' genetic diversity. This unexpected turn meant that their survival wasn't just heartwarming, it was crucial. The stakes had been raised exponentially. Brave and Hope were no longer just two lucky cubs. They were a beacon of hope for an entire endangered population, their story destined to echo far beyond the confines of the clinic. Dr. Thorne felt the weight of this revelation settle heavily upon him, a renewed sense of purpose intertwined with an even greater responsibility. Their future, and perhaps the future of their kind, now rested on the decisions made in the coming months. Years later, the African sun beat down on a vast, protected savanna, a canvas of emerald and gold stretching to the horizon. Here, amidst the rustling grasses and the distant calls of other wild creatures, two magnificent black panthers moved with a silent grace, a testament to resilience and an unbreakable bond. Brave, Now a powerful male with sleek, muscular limbs stalked a gazelle in the distance, his movements fluid and precise, utterly devoid of any lingering trace of his past injuries. Beside him, Hope, a stunning female whose coat shimmered like polished obsidian, watched with keen intelligence, her eyes sharp, alert to every rustle and shadow. They were strong, thriving, and undeniably wild, a living embodiment of the impossible made real. Their release into this sanctuary had been a momentous occasion, a culmination of years of dedicated care, unwavering hope, and groundbreaking veterinary science. Dr. Aris Thorne, his hair now streaked with more silver, stood on a rise overlooking the territory, a profound sense of peace settling over him as he observed them through powerful binoculars. He remembered the fragile, broken cub he had first encountered, the tiny, helpless sibling, and the arduous journey that had followed. Every moment, every sleepless night, every medical breakthrough and setback flashed through his mind. Brave had defied every prognosis, every pessimistic whisper, to not only survive, but to reclaim his rightful place in the wild. Hope, having blossomed under her brother's protective shadow, was now a formidable hunter in her own right, her spirit as fierce as her namesake. The story of Brave and Hope had resonated globally, becoming a beacon of hope for conservation efforts worldwide. News channels, documentaries, and countless articles had chronicled their miraculous journey, transforming them from near-death statistics into symbols of nature's tenacity and the profound impact of human compassion. Donations had poured in, funding not just their recovery but also expanding the sanctuary, providing refuge for countless other endangered species. Their unique genetic markers, once an intriguing scientific footnote, had proven invaluable, their offspring now contributing to a more diverse and robust panther population, ensuring the continuation of their rare lineage. Dr. Thorne lowered his binoculars, a gentle smile gracing his lips. He thought of his own past, the shadows that had once haunted his resolve. Brave's unwavering spirit, his selfless act for hope, had not only saved his sibling but had, in a profound way, saved Thorne himself. It had rekindled his belief in the extraordinary, reinforcing the truth that even in the face of overwhelming odds, love, determination, and a fierce will to live could conquer all. Watching Brave and Hope, free and magnificent, navigate their wild domain, he understood that their story was far more than just a tale of two panthers. It was a testament to resilience, an enduring saga of sibling love that transcended species, and a powerful affirmation of the immense value of every single life on this planet. Their journey was a beautiful, heartbreaking, and ultimately triumphant narrative that whispered the profound truth. Nature, when given a chance, always finds a way. The setting sun painted the sky in fiery hues, casting long, dramatic shadows across the savanna. Brave and Hope, silhouetted against the vibrant backdrop, paused for a moment, their heads held high, embodying the wild beauty and indomitable spirit of Africa. Their survival was a miracle, a powerful emblem of hope that would inspire generations. Their story reminds us that every life holds immeasurable value. Subscribe, like this video, and share this incredible journey to spread awareness. Watch our next video to see Brave and Hope's first year thriving in the sanctuary.